Welcome to the Guided Podcast, where we support you to find the courage to listen and act. I'm Amanda Goolsby, and with me is
Allie Katz.
Let's get started. Welcome back to the Guided Podcast. Today, this episode is going to be a bit of a follow-up episode from episode number 10, where Allie and I both dove into why we're still single. And yet this episode is going to be about attracting new potential love and also the opportunity around keeping our hearts open and not falling back into old patterns of codependency. So, Allie, 2 episodes ago, it's so interesting, life. But you know what is interesting is we recorded that episode quite some time ago. Mm-hmm. So you've been in a journey in your own process and doing some heart healing and working on your inner masculine. And I'm curious if you would just give us a little update and share, what has life been showing you? What has life been bringing you? And what is arising in your relational field currently?
What has life been guiding me to see? So shortly after the episode, Why We Are Single, I met somebody. And this is somebody I actually met several years ago. And when I met him, I thought, oh my God, this human is really fantastic. But he was in partnership. And so I just noticed him and kept moving on. And about a month ago now, he showed up in my backyard. And as soon as I saw him, I was having a party at the house.
Clarification. Didn't just show up in the backyard, showed up in the backyard at a birthday party.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. It wasn't a birthday party, but it was a party that my friend Josh was having. And so this beautiful man shows up, and I was really in like it was a wow moment. It was a bit of a wow moment. Like, oh my gosh, here's this human again. And I think I said in the last episode, whatever is for you can never be taken from you. Like if it's for you, it will show up again in your life. And here he is. And we ended up spending quite a bit of time together that night. Not any sort of a romantic context, just like I wanted to get to know him. Here he is. What is he doing at my house? And what's been happening in his life. And the more we talked, the more I was like, wow, this human, wow. However, he's very young. And I've been in this big challenge around the fact that I am attracted to young people. Hence the fact that you're sitting across from me. Most of my friends are in their 30s. Well, he's not quite in his 30s. And I thought that I had this like cutoff for myself. Okay,
no more. Or I'm not going to date young people and young beings anymore.
Right. And every single time that I say that, life challenges it by putting into my field another young human that I'm really drawn to, really strongly attracted to. And it seemed like he was also drawn to me. Like I couldn't tell. I sometimes have a hard time knowing if somebody's attracted to me or not, but it seemed like he was. Like he kept spending time with me and sitting with me. And anyhow, so he left that night and nothing happened. And I went into a deep inquiry of, okay, should I engage with this human? Is it safe? And that was really the first thing that I was asking. Is this safe? And what I meant by that is it safe for him and is it safe for me? And really I needed to ask myself, for myself, can I find my own internal safety rather than looking to him for it? Because I think that has been one of the big challenges in the past, especially when dating people much younger than me, is I'm looking to them for some sort of safety that they haven't even necessarily created for themselves. So I spoke to a lot of friends, including my ex-partner that I broke up with a year ago.
Who was 33.
Correct. Yes. And I said, to him, like, okay, you know how things went with us. And one of the reasons that things went with us the way that they did is because you, partner person, believed that I wanted partnership in a way that you did not want it with me. And I don't actually think that that's true. I think that what I wanted was for us to be in relationship, but I didn't need it to be this forever partnership. I knew that we weren't going to have kids together. I thought that there was a possibility that we could create family together. And hey, by the way, we are actually even doing that now. A year later, he's that man that I dated and that we had this breakup a year ago is actually living with me now in my home as friends, as roommates. I have a community house and I think we are creating family together. I think we are creating life together. We're just not sexually or romantically involved now. And so I said to him, like, do you think that I can engage with this in a way that is safe for him and for me? And he said that he did think that I could if I was really monitoring my own nervous system and my own attachment wounds, really. And I spoke to some other friends, and what I took away from all of that was that life put this man into my path to find out, to really see what's here for me. The attraction was undeniable, and I could have just not gone towards it, or I could say, okay, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to go towards it and see what does life want me to learn through this connection. So I messaged him and I invited him to get together again. And in his response to me, it was very clear that yes, he was interested. Yes, he was attracted. One of his first responses was, I just want to spend as much time with you as possible. Wow. Okay. I really like that. That was amazing. He is clear. He is direct. I don't always get that from everyone. A lot of times men are intimidated by me. So maybe they hold back their feelings. They don't share what's true. He did. So we got together, and it's been, I think, about a month now that we've been hanging out, and a lot has arisen. A lot has come up. And the big thing that I am seeing is how scary it is for me to really, 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 really like someone. As much attraction as I have, I seem to have equal amounts of terror.
Anxiety.
Lots
worry.
of anxiety. Insecurity. Just there's this part of me that feels really young, maybe 12, 13 years old. And I experienced a lot of rejection in my teenage years, a lot of trying to get love by overgiving of myself.
Where that codependent part started to come online.
A lot of codependency. And so as I've gone into this connection, all of that is coming up. And I can see the ways that I want him to do something about it. And I think what is different now and what feels safer for me is that I have tools to meet my own self when that comes up. I'm not looking to him to fix it. I'm not looking to him to show up in a certain way to soothe me. And then on the flip side, the part that I'm watching, that I'm kind of stalking in ISTA, which is one of the trainings that I've spent a bit of time in, the International School of Temple Arts, they teach us to stalk our shadow. We want to track our shadow, stalk our shadow, watch for it. And so I can see how when he doesn't show up in a specific way, like communicating with me as frequently as I would like, for example, it's really easy for me to immediately go to the place where I'm going to shut my heart. I'm going to shut my heart. I'm going to close him out. I'm going to say, forget it. He can't, he won't, he's not going to. So I'm going to withdraw my love. And one of the things that I noticed that I actually do is I'm going to go look for that from somebody else.
I'm going to go find connection or love or attention more from another man somewhere else. And if I do that, then the part of me that feels insecure, not enough, potentially afraid of rejection can at least be in the seeking of connection so that if rejection does happen, I still have someone that I'm in connection with and I'm not alone.
That's right. I've got all these backups just waiting in the wings. And that is what I'm realizing is the unhealthy addiction to looking for something outside of myself that truly is, I think, ultimately only going to be met by me giving it to myself. And I'm actually making a choice at this moment that feels really scary, very tender, very vulnerable, that I'm going to stop doing that. I'm actually not going to do that. If and when he does not show up the way that I want, if and when he's not giving me the attention that I want, if and when he's not being as communicative as I want, first of all, what I'm going to do is give it to myself.
Learn how to be with that part in full presence, in full awareness, self-soothe, utilize the tools that you've learned to calm your nervous system and to not be reactive through a pattern of behavior that ultimately doesn't get you what you want.
That ultimately either pushes somebody farther away or calls in another person that is just going to perpetuate that same exact pattern. And so it's currently July when we're recording this. I'm leaving for Costa Rica in November. The thing that I am clear that I want from this connection and from this relationship is to utilize the relationship as a practice ground for myself. Here's a human that I am super attracted to on many levels. I respect who he is and the way he's showing up in his life. I physically am extremely attracted to him. And those are really the two things that were on my list. Respect and attraction. Respect and attraction, respect and attraction. And from that place, now a lot of my friends and a lot of the people in my life would say, Allie, you deserve more. You deserve more. You deserve more. And I think this line of thinking of you deserve more is actually keeping us from having what we want. I think that line of thinking of I deserve more, for example, I deserve a man who's going to just be available to me all the time, or I deserve a man who's going to be doting on me all the time, or adoring me, or supporting me in all these various ways. Like, I think that's the thought of what I deserve more means. That actually tends to not be super attractive to me. Maybe one day it will be. Maybe one day when I actually finally meet this part that needs to be met by me, maybe then I'll be ready for the person who's basically available all the time, doting on me, adoring me, supporting me, all the things. That's not what's currently true. What's currently true is that I'm attracted to men that are not super available.
In what way? Not super available emotionally, not super available in how much time they have for you, in their level of commitment into a relational dynamic.
I think it's the combination of commitment to some long-term plan. They're not available for commitment to a long-term plan. They tend to have a lot going on in their own lives outside of me. I think the emotional unavailability used to be attractive to me, and that is no longer attractive to me. The emotional availability is critically important to me.
Both in their ability to be with your emotional experience and to be able to be in touch with their own.
Yes, to really understand what's coming up for them, to be able to meet it, communicate about it, and then also to hear what's coming up for me, meet it, be with it. That at this point now is table stakes, but that wasn't always the case, right? There was a time when that wasn't what was attractive to me, but I think that I've done enough of my own healing work now because I kept leaning into these quote unquote unsafe dynamics, relational dynamics, where I was able to heal that part to the degree where, okay, emotional availability required, time availability not required, and
long-term
availability also not required. I do ultimately want long-term availability. I'm clear about that. I do want to build with a partner. I want to build in community. So I want to build with a lot of partners. And I would really love for one of those partners to be my romantic partner as well. And I would love for us to be building together. And it's not required right now, especially given the reality of my life where, I know come November, I'm going back to Costa Rica. Would it be amazing if this human turned out to be available for that and wanted to come to Costa Rica? Sure, that would be great. And it's not required for this current connection and for where we are right now. I'm clear that life is guiding me right now to say yes to this, even though I could get really hurt.
Well, can't we always get really hurt when we open our heart? Like, doesn't that possibility always exist in the reality where we open our heart and we are vulnerable? Like, that actually always is there.
It's so intense. That's the part that is kind of a little bit rocking my world at this moment, is getting to that. And I think it's because maybe in my past relationships, I wasn't fully opening my heart. Like in some I did, but I think I mostly opened my heart when it seemed safe in some way. So like I wasn't really that into them, maybe. I wasn't really in this like, oh my God, this human is so incredible. Wow, I get to be in a relationship with this human. Wow, this is so cool. I haven't really had a lot of that. Not to say that I didn't like the people that I was in relationship with in the past. I surely did. And yeah, I mean, I would say that there was certainly a man in the past 5 years that I felt that with. And I really, really, really opened my heart with him. And I got really hurt because ultimately he didn't want to be in a long-term relationship with me. But also I can see now looking back that I did not hold a standard for our relating that I'm proud of. And I do want to do that differently this time.
And so is there anything within that you can reflect on around the standard from which you're going to hold yourself in this dynamic? Because I do think that part of what it seems like life is guiding or giving you the opportunity to do this time around is to do it differently.
Every time. That's the opportunity.
Are there any standards that you want to speak to that you're really holding yourself to in relation to maybe what happened in the last relationship of reciprocity and giving and receiving? Like, is there anything like that is, and maybe in this relationship you were just discussing, that was a standard that you didn't hold that this time you're committed to holding?
Yes. I think one of the things that's very clear from my past relationships that I have done in order to create security and safety was that I overgave. I gave in order to be needed, because if they needed me, they wouldn't leave. And I gave in order to secure the relationship. And so that could look like anything from giving of my time, energy, and attention, giving of my services. I could give coaching, I could give mentoring, I could give professional support and guidance. I could give money, I could give financial support. And so I would give all of these things in order to create a secure bond, a facsimile really of a secure bond, rather than actually giving my true vulnerable heart, rather than giving a communication of, wow, I really like you. And I'm really scared to like you as much as I do. Or I really missed you when I didn't hear from you for 1, 2, 3, 4 days or whatever.
So it's almost like a unconscious way of manipulating the relational field to stay secure in love and in the connection, versus having to do the more vulnerable thing, which is express clearly what your needs, wants, desires are, what you're feeling, and potentially be met with rejection. It's like utilizing resource to get the connection, to anchor the connection, even though that hasn't proven necessarily to ever work out. It's just almost backfired in a feeling of resentment at some point of, this doesn't feel good. I'm giving more than I'm receiving.
Yes. And so my opportunity in this connection is, first of all, to have absolute standards around how this connection is serving me. How is this connection serving me? Is it fueling my energy? Am I able to stay more focused on my work? Because I have a lot of big things happening in my work right now. And between now and when I leave for Costa Rica, a lot needs to happen. And we'll do another episode on specifically what's happening on the business front that is really stretching my capacity, writing my next book, raising money for the first time, being the kind of leader in my company that I've never been before. I have to show up for those things. I want to show up for those things. And so if I'm in a relationship that is taking energy from those things, I have to be a no to that. And part of that is setting my own boundaries on myself so that when he doesn't communicate with me because he's busy with his own life, instead of spiraling down the rabbit hole of now I'm going to go seek attention from other men, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. That's where I get to break the addiction to seeking outside of myself, to seeking that attention. And instead, what I get to do is, number one, sit with those feelings, meet that desire for connection in myself, meet it with my friends, meet it with my work, focus more, and then see this relationship as the reward for doing that. If I can do that, I get to stay in this relationship and I get to enjoy the time that we do get to spend together. I really hope I can do it.
I really hope you can too.
Yeah.
And I hope that this time it can stay in a place that feels really healthy and not, like the feedback was, is if you can do this and do it in a way where you're honoring your nervous system and it's more healing and it's more of life affirming and energy giving than it is a drain, then I hope that that stays that way.
Yes.
For you.
Yeah.
And if it's not that, I hope that you can see it.
Well, that's where I'll need my friends to show me. And I think that comes in the reflection of my friends being able to say to me, you seem distracted all the time, or this doesn't seem healthy for you. And it ultimately will be about how I am dealing with or how I am handling whatever is arising in the relationship. This is why it's a practice for me. It's not about him needing to do anything different or show up differently. My hope is that if, for example, he's not in communication for a few days, and then when we see each other again, I communicate, oh, I really missed you and that was hard for me, that maybe he will communicate more if he wants to or can, because he'd want a different impact on me. But ultimately, it can't be about expecting him to do anything differently. It has to be about me taking responsibility to set my own internal boundaries with myself, transmute the energy of lack or loss or despair, or whatever that feeling is, and not just try and fill it with something else, but actually fill it with healthy things like working out, like spending time with my friends, like focusing on my work, like writing the book and raising the capital and all the things that are ultimately the most important things in my life. And then get to have fun in this relationship. And so I am, the question was, okay, well, are you still single? I think so.
Who even knows? It's like, who knows what that word means?
What are these labels?
And what does relationship mean? Being in committed partnership, are you single? Are you not? I think that it sounds like from what you've shared today and in previous conversations that you're exploring a connection that has the possibility to continue to evolve and to flourish and to be a connection with the potential for a more intimate romantic connection that could evolve from this, that would be life-giving to both you and the person that you're connecting with.
Yes. And my first commitment and my primary partnership is with me. Always, forevermore, married, not getting divorced, to myself. And so,
thanks for sharing your vulnerability, your heart, as you continue to stay open on this journey, because it's not an easy aspect. I know it's been a big part of your growing up in the last lifetime.
Well, since I was 13, but really since I was around 32, right? And I think that might be why I like hanging out so much with people in their 30s. It takes me back to the reality of when I first became an adult. Was at that point, even though I had kids and a business and was married by then and all that, the reality is that's when I started growing up as a woman. And so now, for the past 17 years, through relationships and continuing to lean in until it was clear, oh, this one's over. I learned what I could. Now it's time to come back to myself and understand more of what I want. Now I get to be here and into the mystery again, and knowing, yes, it's scary and it's what I want. In fact, one of my friends that's been supporting me, to keep my heart open, I messaged him last night and I said, oh my God, I'm ridiculously head over heels for this man. I feel super scared about it and also excited and kind of blown away. Okay, maybe a lot blown away, tempered by terror on the flip side. Help. And my friend said back to me, this is your life, Allie. Just keep choosing what you want most. Just keep choosing what you want most. And this gets to be a connection where I get to discover more of what I want most by not turning away from what I want because I'm scared. It's okay to be scared. It's okay for me to go towards the fear. In fact, that's been a guiding principle of my life. Go towards what I'm afraid of, and it will always lead me to more and more of what I want. Everything I've ever truly, really, for reallys wanted was on the other side of what I was really most afraid of. And so this relationship is an example of that. And my hope is that by hearing about it, you may be able to turn towards something that you're really afraid of, that has you feel really vulnerable, that requires you to keep your heart open, that requires you to look to yourself for what you most want from somebody else and stop trying to seek it outside. Stop looking outside to try and get the thing that only ultimately you can give you. Knowing that others in our lives show us, they're there to mirror to us what ultimately we most want from ourselves. And I think that's the guiding message of this episode is look there for what you get to turn towards. And I will do the same. And then we will circle back and let you know how it goes.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And thank you all for listening to these conversations, these honest, real, raw, vulnerable conversations of what is actually happening within our life experience. And hopefully from this, you're able to take away some mindsets, some actionable ways of being or looking at your life or perspectives that you might not be looking at right now, and continue to allow that guidance in and allow it to affect your life in a positive direction. So thank you all for listening.
Bye for now.
If you enjoy the Guided podcast, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and be sure to come back next week. Until then, this is Allie Katz and
Amanda Goolsby.
remember, life knows.